You ever have one of those days that you think, I just think I'd like to go back to bed? Yep, today's one of those. Today, I had my BSF Bible study, and then afterwards we had a luncheon at the church for our veterans, which was a very nice lunch. Beautiful, great, enjoyed it. Came home, was home about an hour and a half, and then promptly got sick. So, yeah, it's one of those days. So I'm just drinking a lot of ginger ale, that kind of thing, to calm my stomach, that kind of stuff. But when I sat down to put my ball into my yarn bowl, I dropped it and broke it. So I'm kind of hoping that I can Gorilla Glue it together. I think it'll work. I mean, I never really used this portion anyway, but did like the bowl because it held my cakes well. So I don't know. Here's hoping that I can fix that issue. I did been working on this, and where's the hook? There's the hook. So far, this is the hat I've got for that young lady, and starting the brim. So we'll see how it comes out. Hopefully it'll be okay, and she'll love her little hat, and we'll go on our merry way, because I don't know what else to do. I did find, and I'm pretty sure that's light raspberry. I really don't think that's the color, that they were looking for. So it's just going to be what it's going to be. But anyway, how is everybody's day going? And to start it off this morning, I watched the little lady that I care for twice a week, from Monday nights 8 p.m. to Tuesday mornings 9 a.m. And the gal that released me at 9 a.m. was late. She came in apologizing, and she's like, there was some kind of accident up on I-80, so they're diverting all that traffic the way that she comes from her home, which is, by the high school. And I said, yeah, I figured it was either that or snow on the windshield. Maybe you had to de-ice the windshield. I said, my first thoughts when I got up was, did I put the ice scraper in the car? I did, which is a good thing. And I have one of those that has like a flat foam piece that when the snow is light and hasn't frozen in onto the windshield, you can just take and push it off like a big broom. And that's the kind of snow we got. It was light, it was fluffy. And we're just getting snow showers today. It's not really sticking. But this morning, where I park at, there is no covered area over the car, so that was a bit of fun. Especially when you get up and you start worrying, did I bring it? Did I put it in the car? Lord, I hope I put it in the car. Please let me have put it in the car. So, yeah. But, and I do apologize yesterday. I was going to post a picture of the whole thing with the amount of donations that many of our senators get from the big insurance companies. Some of the totals, like 23 million, 40 million, what they've gathered so far, up to year 2025. And I forgot to do that, so I'll try to remember to stick it in here. Hopefully my brain will remember enough to do that. I'm hoping so. But last night we spent a great deal of time at the church working on the Operation Christmas Child, getting things sorted, basically so that we have things ready to line up on tables. We're planning on, our packing party is the 19th. So we're planning on having tables that when you come in to the sanctuary, we're trying to divert everybody around to one doorway so they come in. So there will be a table, several tables set up, and each station, you're supposed to put one of each one of those things into the box, and then up and down some different rows, there'll be the 2 to 4 year olds, 5 to 9 year olds, and then the 10 to 14, with the area at the very top for you to stop and really reorganize the box. Add anything you want to, like a small note. Take the time to pray over the box. That's something that we always suggest that the kids do. They pray over the box, that it reaches the right recipient, and that they learn about Jesus. You know, those kind of things. So it should be fun. And while we're there, that the church had determined, those of us that have been on the Operations Christmas Child team for the past couple of years, that they purchased us t-shirts. Well, Samaritan's Purse only goes to 2X, so I cannot squeeze my girls in there. Around the waist and the abdomen, you know, that's fine, but the girls ain't gonna fit. So I'm gonna have to upcycle that shirt with a flannel shirt so that I can wear that. They're asking us to wear that anytime we're working at the church for drop-offs. I think I told you about the the church that had dropped off some boxes Sunday and then took 100 of the boxes that we purchased for our church congregation to hand out. So that gets kind of costly, especially when someone who doesn't know that, you know, it costs, and that each church is responsible for purchasing their own boxes, or individuals, if you choose to go online and do it individually. So, but it's okay. I don't know if they decided to order more boxes or if they just decided we'll just be 100 short. And maybe lots of people, because there are a lot of people that use the shoe boxes, like the plastic shoe boxes and those kind of things, to send, or they collect regular shoe boxes as well and use those. And it's, you know, I think it'll all work out, so we'll see. I do know that sometimes, because you are the central drop-off point, sometimes you do receive some extra boxes from some of the churches that had ordered boxes but couldn't use them, and so they're just going to send them on. And that happened last year, I think, with 2 of the churches that brought in extra boxes that were empty boxes. So we're just going to go with the flow, and hopefully everything will work. We did decide that anything that is left over, we are going to send that up as fillers. So we've got a couple of large containers for that. And luckily, one of our gals that is leading this, her and her family have been doing this for years. They do their own private packing party each year. And in their family alone, they usually pack about 1,000 boxes. Now, the family, I won't say that they're absolutely well off, but they do own a granite mine, and marble mine, and they use a lot of the proceeds to pay for those kind of things. They also do a lot of online auctions to get a whole lot of items, which is helpful. I mean, I think I told you before that they had it one year. They thought that they were just purchasing a lot of socks, and they didn't realize that they had purchased a whole warehouse of socks. So there were a lot of socks that got used that year. So that's kind of what we were doing this last night Tuesday night. You're gonna see this Wednesday. So that's what we spent about 2.5 hours doing that. We're looking to probably spend 2.5 to 3 hours Thursday in hopes that we'll get everything prepared and ready to go. And I think my only suggestion was that next year, because we do have someone that's going to help plan buying in bulk, items in bulk throughout the year. And we have suggested maybe it's time to put pressure on the elders. They have several sheds out back, but one of the sheds is filled with junk that's never been used. They don't use it, so our suggestion was to put it online on Facebook Marketplace, either free or for purchase, and to clean that out so that we have an area when these bulk items come in, we can put them there in that shed. So I don't know if we'll be able to convince them or not, but we're going to give it a try. Like I said, and it'll be interesting if we can get them to do it. And each year at our Veterans Dinner on Tuesday, which is today that I'm filming, the gal that heads it up is also the executive director, I guess you would call it, of the food pantry. So she used to work at Penn State, both her and her husband, but they are still in touch with the culinary chefs and those kind of things that do a lot of things there. So she always has them make a cake. And for the Veterans Day, I'm going to insert a picture here of that. that. Now that cake was half chocolate on chocolate. The other half was vanilla with strawberry. Now last year they had done vanilla with raspberry, but it was delicious, wonderful. And the fellow that prepared the meal for us today prepared, I want to say they were boneless ribs. I mean, they were very moist. They were falling apart. So you got, one of the small short ribs. And then mashed potatoes, and they had baked corn, and they had macaroni salad. Then, of course, they had different types of pickles and things you could add to that. So it was a very nice dinner, even though it didn't stay down. And I think that's because I caught a bug. I wasn't feeling too good last night to begin with, so. And I know that's going around, so. And sometimes you don't know if the reason you're not feeling up to par is because of the fibromyalgia, or if there's something else going on, or I've had issues with the allergies this year that have been really bad. So, wasn't sure if it was that. Plus, the other thing that I've done is my CPAP machine, I'm sterilizing it today in hopes that, help clean out some of that, help with the sinus issues, the allergies. That's always fun. So, it's about time to start doing a lot of those winter items to be made. Hats, scarves, gloves, mittens. Oh my! With our prayer shawl ministry, we have a woman that makes mittens, and that's all she makes. One of our newest members also crochets gloves. So she is sending pattern around for folks who want to attempt to crochet gloves. Not so sure I'm that industrious. But I have found a pattern for crocheting gloves. It's supposed to be pretty easy. Thought about trying it, so maybe I will give that a try. Have you guys ever crocheted gloves? Have you ever knitted gloves? And I don't mean just mittens. I've done mittens. When we were doing Head Start, I did a lot of mittens. And I always would challenge myself because we would hand them out after Thanksgiving. I would challenge myself to do anywhere from 100 to 150. And of course, they were the same size, so that wasn't an issue. I could do 2 at once. I've even done 4 at once, but at least I was able to get a pair done at once. And by the time I got through doing that pattern, I had it completely memorized. And I had started a pair the other day just for the fun of it. And yeah, I still remember the pattern. I do think that's interesting how our mind works that way. But I've never really been interested in making gloves. But she had talked about this pattern, and I thought, I had downloaded an easy glove pattern, but I haven't tried it yet, so maybe I will try it. And I always find it funny. I had someone tell me they thought that everything was shut down Veterans Day. And I said, no, I don't think so. I think the only thing is government offices and, the post office. think the rest of the world keeps turning on Veterans Day. And we at our church had gotten to talking about how there are a lot of other churches. Let me give you an example. Each year, our church does something on Sundays for the Mother's Day, Father's Day, certain celebrations. But we were talking about how for Veterans Day, we don't even recognize them on the Sunday before. So we were talking about maybe we need to do an email campaign to the pastors that the Sunday before we should recognize our veterans. The way that we recognize moms and dads. Because otherwise, if it weren't for our veterans, there might not be some moms and dads in the audience. But I always find it interesting for the veterans luncheon. A lot of people don't want to go because they're like, well, I'm not a veteran. And I said, well, neither am I, but I'm there to support the veterans. Not only that, but it's very interesting to sit and talk and to hear some of the stories that are behind, the different places that they served, some of the things that are going on. And today, most of ours were Army. We did have one Marine and 2 Air Force. And we also had an Army nurse there, and she was at our table. And a lot of people always forget that women did serve for many years, often as nurses or office personnel or just support personnel. And they're always forgotten when it comes to the veterans. So it was just interesting to listen to some of her stories about, because she was in Vietnam. And one of the ladies at our table, one of her friends served in Vietnam. And they got to talking, and she wanted to know if she knew her friend. And she said she had kept a journal of all those that she had cared for in her MASH unit. So she said, I was more than happy to look it up, and she would let her know the next time she saw her whether she did know that gentleman or not, or had met him in her travels there in Vietnam, which should be interesting, to see if there was that, if she did have a small connection so many years later. But of course, anytime you have a Marine in the room, when they announce that they are a Marine, they've got to do the battle cry, hurrah, or hoorah. So it's just a lot of fun, and to see them teasing each other good-naturedly about their different branches of service. Let's see, is there anything that I've been seeing as far as news-wise? Not really. It seems that a lot of people are talking about the whole issue, again, with the girl that is testing the churches. I've had people say, well, it's a good thing. And here's my take on some of it. It is a good thing, but you have to remember, when you are calling a church, you are talking to the administrative branch of the church. You're not talking to the church. The people are the church, not the administration part of it. They are the leaders and the shepherders and that kind of thing. But like I said, you also have to remember, if it's not in their charter or their bylaws, they cannot, by law, go purchase those kind of things. They can refer you to someone or to help. But the thing that I think is interesting is, why was she not reaching out to emergency rooms, hospitals? Why did she not also reach out to pregnancy resource centers, those kind of things? Because many times pregnancy resource centers can provide those things for you on an emergency basis. And then the other thing is, with her pointing out those that had said no, that actually puts them in danger and their congregation in danger because of all the wackos out there. You know, we've seen a lot of churches burned, people coming in, driving their cars into the building, trying to hurt and shoot, kill, stab as many people as they can. And that is my problem with her social experiment, because she is creating an environment that can be dangerous for the people. Like I said, it's not the church that she's addressing, it's the administrative office. And of course, she doesn't understand there are rules and guidelines that you have to follow. And if you are a 501c that is tax exempt from certain things, you have to follow your bylaws and those laws, or otherwise you risk losing your 501c. And always find it interesting that those who are not Christians are busy telling Christian churches what they need to be doing. They're also the first person that when they are in need, they come to asking for help, which many churches do what they can to help people, but a lot of these folks do not realize the amount of demands and calls they get for assistance. You know, each week, every day, day in, day out. And they have to make a decision who they can help. Now, I do have a problem with some of those churches where the benevolent funds only benefit their parishioners. That kind of defeats the idea of what a benevolent fund is for. And so, I don't know. I just don't understand that. Every church that I've ever gone to, the benevolent fund has gone out to anyone. Didn't have to be just a member of the church, you know, be someone in need. But of course, then you have a group of people who have to come together, make a decision, talk with you to find out what's going on, and then, you know, assess whether or not they have the ability to help you. Sometimes they cannot help you fully. Sometimes they have a team of other churches that they can work together to get the help that you need, that kind of thing. So, and she is continuing to do this. But I will say, in the back of my mind, I can't help but wonder, the reason she did this is because she thought it would go viral. And it has. So, like I said, my question to her is, now that it has gone viral, and she's always been a part of the TikTok Creator Fund, my question was, so are you going to turn around and use those funds that you've been making off of this being viral? Are you going to use those funds to place baby formula in food pantries? Because a lot of food pantries don't carry baby formula. And part of the reason they don't is because of WIC. And majority of people who are in need of baby formula are on WIC. So, I don't know. And then someone, and this is someone that I know that's a lawyer, said those churches that people are sending donations to as a gratitude, these churches that you're doing that to could end up losing their 501cs because of this social experiment, because the way it came about, especially if they, one, do not have in their bylaws or charters to have food pantries, those kind of things. You have to remember there are a lot of regulations that go along with having a food pantry and about expiration dates of items and all of that stuff, unless your state has rules like Pennsylvania does. Pennsylvania, you are allowed to sell things that have gone past the stamped expiration date. And usually there's a reason, because usually those things are still good for many years. Just like canned goods. If the canned goods are not dented and you don't see any breakage in seam or anything, they're good. I think I had read with USDA 10 years after the expiration date that's on the top of the cans. So. But you do have to be careful, because with the church, if you don't have the option to feed and assist people with food in your bylaws and your charter, you can be in a lot of trouble for saying, yes, I'll get you a can of formula. Now, some of the mega churches I have problems with, because many of those do have food pantries, and they should have been able to help. Hypothetically, they should have been able to help. But like I said, that's not the church. The people who are attending, like I said, the biggest thing that I have with that is the people that attend the church are what make up the church. And most of those folks do whatever they need to do to get that person help. But, yeah. Where's my skizzers? There's my skizzers. This hat's finished. And I didn't bring my bag in that has my needle to weave in the ends, so just have to leave it at that. There's that hat. And there is that finished portion there. So, do need to make a pom-pom. Luckily, she just wants a blue pom-pom, so that'll be easy enough to make. And I do use my big pom-pom maker. I can find it. I believe this is a clover, if I remember correctly. It's clover. I like using this. The only thing that I miss is Thomas was my pom-pom trimmer, because he was so good at trimming the pom-poms. I mean, he could get them round as all get out. Me, I'm round pom-pom challenged. That's all I'm going to say. I'm just challenged when it comes to that. Where's my blue? Don't know where my blue's at. Okay, green. Yeah, all right, I see you. There you are. So, yeah, that's it's the only thing I worry about her experiment, is she puts a lot of people in danger because of some of the nutcases that are out there. And I'm going to use nutcase, and if that bothers you, I'm sorry. But there are some people that have a few screws loose in their head, and they got no problems or issues with doing violence. And the only other thing is, You know, the whole thing with the J6, the bomber, the pipe bomb person that had put those bombs outside the RNC headquarters on January the 6th, and also the DNC. Who would have thought it was a police officer with the DC police? I think she was DC police. And I would imagine she's in a lot of trouble, you know. I guess her interrogation is probably no fun. But, you know what they say, if you do the crime, gotta pay the time. And I use a very sharp Fisker scissors because they have a lifetime guarantee. And I have that guarantee in my bag, so if they start to not work very well, and I still use sharpener with them, just to double check, you know, those kind of things. But it's nice to have those guarantees because Fiskars does honor their guarantee, or they have been so far. I had one pair of scissors that stopped cutting. No matter what I did, took it to someone to sharpen, they just, for some reason, they couldn't get them sharp enough. So, and I still had the guarantee, the card that came with it, plus the receipt. Notifying them of that, and they replaced those scissors. Free of charge. How many things do we have now that have a lifetime guarantee? I noticed there are a lot of car places now. They're giving lifetime guarantees on the engines. Not real sure how that works. But I'm wondering how they get around replacing things if they needed to. You know, I'm sure that doesn't mean parts, but, you know, like chassis and that kind of stuff. At least I would hope it is. Let me pull my trash can over here. And then we'll get to doing a little bit of trimming. It's not a hard thing to do, but like I said, I'm not good at getting them round. I'm one of those, if I try to do that, I'm going to sit and constantly chop, chop, chop away until there's hardly any pom-pom left. But I do like this pom-pom maker. It's very nice. I do leave my strings nice and long. Generally, I will tie it twice on one side, you know, tightening down. Tie it a second time. And then flip it over to the other side and put 3 knots in it. Call it a day. Sometimes I'll do a surgeon's knot, but I don't really like doing the surgeon's knot on the pom-poms. And when I say surgeon's knot, what I mean is, and I'll show you, is to take it through the loop, then take it and wrap it a second time. That is considered a surgeon's knot. But I find sometimes it doesn't tighten down as well. Like this one didn't tighten down as well. So I'm going to add a couple more knots on the opposite side. All right, time to pull that pom-pom out and see what I got. See, I didn't get a part snipped. Could be a little bit of a problem there. I cannot get that picked up. Isn't that funny how that works sometimes? You can get them, other times you can't get it. There we go. Think I got it. Nope, did not get it. All right. There's that pom-pom. So, lovely, isn't it? So I'm going to start trimming it. Now, my battery is about to die, so hang on. And while you're away, I did finish the pom-pom. Went ahead and trimmed it up a little bit. I know that I'm not going to be able to do it perfectly, so I'm not even going to try. The only other thing I do is then I add it to the top of the hat, either side of the top portion, pull a string through, maybe. I try to go through a stitch instead of just, in between stitches. Sometimes it works, and then I try to go on the opposite side, the top of the hole. Same thing with the other one. Bring those strings up. And then basically just tie it in a knot and then put a bow on it to close it up. Trim off any kind of excess. So there's not, 16 inches of string there. So that way, when the moms and dads are working on it, they can take the pom-pom off to wash it, that kind of thing. And then I just weave in the ends on the hats. I wonder where all my other needles are with that one. It's kind of bizarre. Wonder if I opened it up and spilled them somewhere. But that's basically the hat, and it's ready to go on to its recipient now. Once those tails have been woven in. I don't necessarily weave them in 2 to 3 times on the hats. Just don't think that's necessary. I do have a couple tails down here at the bottom that I need to weave in, because when I have added those, I use a slip knot to join. I don't, bring the yarn in to finish the stitch. I just, because when you're doing the front post, back post, you can't really crochet over the tails. So I just find it easier to do this and then weave them in. And when I weave them in, I do generally split the yarn so that the tail of that is caught in between the yarn plies. I don't know, in my mind I think it makes it sturdier and makes it stay longer, but I don't know. I may be kidding myself, who knows. That's just the way I've done it before, and I will tell you if I've had to go find my stitches, to correct something, it can be awful difficult to find that tail. And yeah, I've had to do that with a couple things in the past. But, yeah. There is that little one's hat, ready to go. Ready to be put in a bag. The only thing that I did do is I did start something last night when I was over at my little lady's house. And I had started a I see what I did. I thought I had this one. I didn't realize I had two in there. Those hooks, or those needles. I had started a washcloth. And the washcloth is with, I love this yarns. That cotton, I love this cotton. I'd used the cotton scrubby. Let's see, what is the colorway? Prairie Harvest. And pairing that with, I love this cotton Sunlit Seafoam. And I'm just knitting me a dishcloth. Well, dishcloth, scrubby cloth to clean things. Sometimes I make sponges, crocheted those two together. I'm holding two strands together so that it creates a nice little washcloth with some scrubby in there. And since this is all cotton, it can be washed up easily. When I make my little sponges with that, I use those lots of times to scrub sinks, the shower, that kind of thing, because it really cleans it well. But yeah, that's the only other thing I did is started that with 25 stitches and just garter stitch all the way through. Now I will make a couple of dishcloths because I do need some more dishcloths. My dishcloths have been worn thin. And it seems like I'm always making them for everybody else, but not making them for me. So yeah. Anyway, that's kind of what's going on today. I am going to let you go for now. I will see you again tomorrow. And in the meantime, everybody have a blessed day. And remember, try to do something kind for somebody if you can. Bye for now.